And in fact, he's a Grimsby boy originally. He comes from East Marsh, like me, he's a council house guy. He comes from one of the poorest areas of the least developed areas, as it were, of Grimsby. So absolutely understands what the town needs, and he's got lots of ideas. The community board that he wants to set up, and other things to help develop Grimsby. But it's a three-way fight. This between ourselves and UKIP and Labour. I was going to be here yesterday, but I gather somebody else was here, taking the time a bit, you know, and I gather it was something of a metaphor for a UKIP government. You know, there can't be an easier place in the world to organise a fishing trip than Grimsby. But they managed to organise a fishing trip without enough lifebelts. Yeah? So they had to go out by themselves, you know. So in future, I mean, there are ladies in the audience, so I'll have to clean this up a bit. Well, you know, we all know the phrase "can't organise a party at a brewery." You know, well now it'll be "can't organise a fishing trip in Grimsby." That's UKIP for you. You know? But seriously, there is a serious issue in all of this. I mean, Mr. Farage yesterday argued about the decline of fishing in Grimsby. He doesn't know his history. It's got more to do with Keflavik than it has to do with Brussels, in truth. So he's sort of got that bit wrong. He talked about immigration, of course, and employment. Well, actually, employment here has improved.
Of that, and I think you've done that very eloquently today. So thank you very much for coming and doing that. And certainly, you know, you can't notice we're obviously by the docks, very iconic Grimsby, and it must be said just how important to the people of the town the fishing heritage is, but also the fishing future. We are a net exporter of some very specialist fish as well, and that's a massive part of our industry as well. But it's not the only part. You know, we have got a future here in the renewables industry, despite what was said yesterday. You know, the maintenance of the offshore wind is hugely important, and I really think the Humber and Grimsby has got an awful lot going for it, but we do need a Conservative government to actually make that happen. So thank you very much for coming today and supporting us.
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right.
But no, it's
votes short of toppling Labour, and it had been seen as a pretty safe Labour seat. But the Tory party candidate then has switched to UKIP. So isn't your vote going to be split this time?
Well, some could argue with a different candidate we should then take the seat. So I would see that as a positive step, really, rather than a negative one.
But is UKIP a big threat to you here? Because they're campaigning hard. They had Nigel Farage here yesterday, campaigning hard on the EU and immigration.
Well, I think we saw yesterday exactly what will happen if we get UKIP MPs in place, and God forbid if there was ever a UKIP government. So I think we need to move on from that and start debating, well, how do we actually achieve some of the challenges that they raised, and it's certainly not by voting UKIP.